I've been secretly married to my CEO husband for 6 years, and today I finally left him. He spent our entire marriage hiding me and our son like we're his shameful secret. I thought he'd change, that he'd eventually choose us, but after he missed our son's 5th birthday yesterday, I'm done. I, 29F, met my husband, Daniel, 35M, 7 years ago when I was a junior marketing coordinator at his tech company. He was already a rising star, brilliant, driven, and being groomed to take over as CEO. I was nobody special, just another employee trying to make rent in an expensive city. We met at a company happy hour. He was different than I expected, funny, a little awkward, genuinely interested in my ideas about a campaign I'd been working on. We talked for 3 hours. He asked for my number. I thought it was too good to be true. It was. Our relationship moved fast. Too fast in hindsight. Within 3 months, I was pregnant. I was terrified to tell him, expecting him to run or demand I take care of it. Instead, he surprised me by proposing immediately. "Marry me," he said. "I want this. I want you and our baby. I know it's fast, but I'm serious about this." I should have asked more questions. I should have wondered why he seemed almost relieved by the pregnancy, like it gave him an excuse to lock things down quickly. But I was 23, pregnant, scared, and in love. So I said yes. We got married at City Hall 2 weeks later. Just us and 2 random witnesses we pulled off the street. No friends, no family, no celebration. Daniel said we'd have a real wedding later, after the baby came, after things settled down at work. That was 6 years ago. We never had that real wedding. Here's the thing about my marriage that nobody knows. Nobody knows about it. Not our families, not our friends, and especially not anyone at Daniel's company. As far as the world is concerned, Daniel is a successful, single CEO. And I'm just his ex-employee who quietly quit when she got pregnant by some mystery man. Let me explain how we got here. When I told Daniel I was pregnant, he told me about the plan. His father, the current CEO, was planning to retire within 5 years. The board was already positioning Daniel as the successor, but there was concern about his image. At 29, he was seen as too young, too impulsive, not serious enough for the responsibility. If they find out I got an employee pregnant and married her at City Hall in a rush, they'll think I'm exactly what they're worried about, he explained. They'll question my judgment. They might pass me over for the position. So, what are you saying? I asked. Just, let me handle the optics carefully. You quit, say it's for personal reasons. We keep the marriage quiet for now. Maybe you use your maiden name professionally. After the baby's born, after I'm more established, we can go public properly. I just need some time. Famous last words. I just need some time. I should have said no. I should have demanded he choose me and our baby publicly. But I was young and scared, and I convinced myself this was reasonable. It was temporary. He loved me. He'd married me, hadn't he? So I quit my job. I moved into Daniel's penthouse apartment, but only on weekends and evenings when no one from the company would see me coming and going. During the day, I stayed at my old apartment, which he paid for. I gave birth to our son, Jacob, and Daniel wasn't even there because he had a crucial board meeting. That should have been my first wake-up call. Jacob is 5 now. 5 years old, and he still doesn't understand why Daddy doesn't live with us full-time, why we can't go to Daddy's office, why Daddy's last name is different from ours, and why, most heartbreaking of all, he's not allowed to call Daniel Dad in public. Call me Daniel when we're out, my husband tells our son. It's a game, buddy. A secret game. What kind of father makes his child pretend he's not his father? Over the years, the excuses evolved. First it was after I make CEO, he made CEO 3 years ago. Then it was after the company goes public. We went public 2 years ago. Then it was after we secure the merger. That happened last year. There's always another milestone, another reason why now isn't the right time. Meanwhile, I've watched Daniel build a public persona as the eligible bachelor CEO. Magazine interviews where he talks about being married to his work. Profile pieces speculating about his love life. A charity gala last year where a gossip column linked him romantically to an actress he chatted with. When I confronted him about that article, he said, "You know it's not real. Why do you care what some gossip rag says?" "Because our son saw it. He asked me if you have another family." Daniel just sighed. He's too young to understand these things. But Jacob isn't too young. He's 5 and he's smart, and he's starting to ask questions I can't answer. Like, why doesn't Daddy come to my school for Parent Day? Why can't I tell my friends about Daddy? Why does Daddy only visit us at night? Does Daddy love us? That last question broke something in me. Our arrangement has become increasingly suffocating. I live in a beautiful apartment that Daniel owns, but I can't post photos of it because someone might recognize the view and connect it to him. I can't work because I might run into someone from the company and they'd ask questions about Jacob. I can't date, not that I want to, but the principal, because I'm married, but I can't tell anyone I'm married. I exist in this weird limbo where I'm a wife, but not really, a mother raising a child who has a father who's there, but not really. Daniel sees Jacob maybe 3 times a week, always late evening visits to our apartment, always rushed, always cutting things short when work calls. And his secretary, Melissa. God, I've grown to hate that woman, which isn't fair because she doesn't know about me. She's just doing her job. But Melissa has more access to my husband than I do. She knows his schedule, his preferences, his moods. She has lunch with him daily. She travels with him to conferences. She's essentially his work wife, and I'm his secret real wife. Daniel swears there's nothing between them. She's an employee. That's all. You're being paranoid. But I've seen how he talks about her with this casual familiarity, how often her name comes up, how many times plans with Jacob and me get canceled because Melissa scheduled something I can't miss. Which brings me to yesterday, Jacob's 5th birthday. We'd been planning it for weeks. Nothing elaborate. Jacob wanted to go to this indoor trampoline park and then have pizza and cake at our apartment. Daniel promised he'd be there. He promised. He even called Jacob 3 days before to confirm. "I'll be there, buddy." Wouldn't miss it for the world. Birthday morning, Jacob woke up at 6 a.m., so excited he could barely contain himself. "Is Daddy coming to my party? When will Daddy get here?" "This afternoon, sweetheart. At 2 o'clock. We got to the trampoline park at 2 p.m. Jacob kept running to the entrance every 5 minutes. "Is that Daddy? Is he here yet?" 2:30 p.m. "Mommy, where's Daddy?" 3 p.m. I texted Daniel. "We're waiting for you." Jacob keeps asking. 3:15 p.m. I called. Straight to voicemail. 3:30 p.m. Jacob stopped asking. He just got quiet, this heartbreaking resignation on his 5-year-old face. We did the trampolines, but his excitement was gone. 4 p.m. We went back to the apartment for cake. Jacob sat at our small dining table, staring at the empty chair I'd set out for Daniel. I called again. Voicemail. I texted. "Where are you? It's our son's birthday." 5:30 p.m. Finally a response. "So sorry. Emergency meeting." Melissa had to schedule a last-minute call with investors. "I'll make it up to him. Love you both." I stared at that text for a long time. Melissa had to schedule. Not I had to take, or something unavoidable came up. But Melissa scheduled it, like he had no agency, like his secretary's scheduling decisions were more important than his son's birthday. Jacob ate his cake in silence. When he blew out the candles, I asked what he wished for. "I wish Daddy was here," he said. "But wishes don't work, do they, Mommy?" I put him to bed at 7:30. He didn't ask when Daddy would come. He's learned not to expect it. Daniel showed up at 9 p.m. after Jacob was asleep. He brought an expensive toy, something flashy that Jacob had never mentioned wanting. "I'm so sorry," he said, setting the toy on the couch. The call ran long. "These investors are crucial for." "Stop." He looked surprised. "What?" "Just stop. Stop with the excuses." "It's not an excuse, it's my job. You know how demanding. Your son waited for you for 3 hours. He sat in front of his birthday cake, asking me where you were. And you know what he told me? He said wishes don't work because he wished you were there and you weren't." Daniel's face softened. "I'll talk to him tomorrow. I'll explain." "Explain what?" That a meeting your secretary scheduled was more important than his 5th birthday? That work will always come first? That he'll always be your secret? That's not fair. What's not fair, I said, my voice rising for the first time in years, is asking your son to pretend you're not his father. What's not fair is hiding us like we're something to be ashamed of. What's not fair is 6 years of empty promises. I've given you everything, Daniel said, defensive now. This apartment, financial security, anything you need. Except a real marriage. Except a father for our son. Except a life that exists in daylight instead of just after dark. You knew what this was when we got married, and there it was. The truth he'd never quite said out loud. I knew. I agreed. This was the deal. So, why was I complaining? I knew it was temporary, I said quietly. You said temporary. It's been 6 years. I'm building something here. I'm on the verge of major expansions. After this next phase. There's always a next phase. When does it end? When Jacob's 10, 15? When he graduates high school and you've missed every birthday, every milestone, every moment that mattered? You're being dramatic. I want a divorce. Silence. Daniel stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. What? I walked to the bedroom and pulled out the envelope I'd been keeping in my nightstand for the past 3 months. I'd had the papers drawn up by a lawyer I'd consulted in secret, paid for with money I'd been slowly setting aside from the household account Daniel gave me access to. I handed him the envelope. I've already signed, I said. I'm not asking for alimony. I don't want the apartment or your money. I just want child support and joint custody. I want out. Daniel opened the envelope with shaking hands. He read through the papers, his face going through several emotions: shock, anger, disbelief, and something that might have been fear. You're serious? Completely. Where will you go? How will you? I have a job lined up. My friend Sarah owns a marketing firm in Portland. She offered me a position 6 months ago, and I turned it down. I called her this week, and the offer's still open. We're moving in 2 weeks. Portland? That's across the country. You can't just take my son. Our son. And yes, I can. I consulted a lawyer. Since we're not publicly married, since you've never been listed as his father on any official documents, since you've made no public claim to him, I have primary custody by default. You'll have to file for paternity and custody rights, which means going public with the marriage and Jacob's existence. I watched the implications dawn on him. To fight me, he'd have to reveal everything he'd been hiding. You can't do this, he said, but his voice was weak. I'm doing it. I'm giving you 2 weeks to figure out what you want to tell people, to get ahead of the story however you need to. That's more than fair considering you've had 6 years to do it your way. I love you. I love Jacob. Then you should have acted like it. Daniel left at midnight, taking the divorce papers with him. He didn't say goodbye to Jacob, didn't even go into his room to look at him sleeping. That was 3 days ago. I haven't heard from him since. No calls, no texts, nothing. And honestly, it's been peaceful. Jacob has asked about him once. I told him Daddy had to go away for work for a while. Jacob just shrugged and went back to his Legos. That broke my heart more than anything, how easily he accepted his father's absence. My friends who don't know about Daniel think I'm making a great career move. My family, who've been asking for years why I don't date, are excited for a fresh start. Only Sarah knows the truth, and she's been incredible, helping me find an apartment in Portland, coordinating the job start date, even setting up interviews at preschools for Jacob. I'm leaving in 11 days. I've started packing. I've said goodbye to our pediatrician, our favorite park, the coffee shop where the barista knows Jacob's order. I'm erasing our life here, this half-life we've been living. Part of me keeps expecting Daniel to show up, to fight for us, to finally choose us. But I know he won't. His silence these past 3 days has been answer enough. Last night, Jacob asked me, in our new house, can I tell my new friends about Daddy? You can tell them anything you want, baby. Can I call him Dad if I want to? Of course you can. Okay. But I don't think I want to anymore. Is that okay? I held him tight and told him it was absolutely okay. Whatever he feels is okay. So Reddit, that's my story. I've wasted 6 years of my life as a secret wife to a man who couldn't even show up for his own son's birthday. I'm leaving in 11 days, and I'm not looking back. Am I doing the right thing? Or am I giving up too soon? Edit/update, 6 hours later. Holy shit. I did not expect this response. I'm reading every comment, and the overwhelming consensus is validating what I already knew deep down. I should have left years ago. But I need to update because something just happened. About an hour ago, I got a call from Sarah in Portland. She sounded frantic. "Did your husband call you?" she asked. "No, why?" "Because he just called me. I don't know how he got my number, but he called the office asking about you. He wanted to know exactly when you're starting, where you'll be living, everything." My assistant didn't know who he was and almost gave him information before I stepped in. My blood ran cold. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. I said if he has questions about an employee's personal life, he can take it up with HR or a lawyer." He got aggressive, said he was your husband and had a right to know. I told him that since he's not listed as an emergency contact, I couldn't help him. After we hung up, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from an unknown number. Then my phone rang again. Daniel's office number. I answered. "What do you want?" It wasn't Daniel. It was Melissa, his secretary. Daniel asked me to reach out. "How do you know to call me Mrs.?" Silence. Then he told me. Today. He told me everything. My heart was pounding. "Why are you calling?" He's not okay. After he got back from your apartment 3 days ago, he's been different. He canceled all his meetings yesterday. He's been locked in his office. This morning he came in looking like he hasn't slept in days and told me to clear his entire calendar. Then he told me about you and Jacob and asked me to help him find you. I'm not lost. He knows where I am. He said you're moving. Portland? He's frantic. I've never seen him like this. He's making mistakes, forgetting things. In the 8 years I've worked for him, I've never seen him lose his composure. Today he yelled at a board member. Actually yelled. I didn't know what to say. Melissa continued. Look, I don't know you. I don't know your situation. But he asked me to tell you that he needs to see you. He said he'll come to your apartment tonight, that he has things he needs to say. I don't want to see him. He said to tell you, hold on, he wrote it down for me. Tell her I'm ready. Tell her I'll do whatever it takes. Tell her I finally understand what matters. I hung up. Reddit, I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to believe he's finally having his come to Jesus moment. Part of me thinks this is just panic because he's losing control of the situation. And part of me doesn't care anymore. The damage is done. Do I let him come tonight? Do I hear him out? Or is it too late? Update 2 next day. I'm shaking as I write this. Last night was a lot. After I posted the update, I spent the rest of the afternoon anxious and distracted. Jacob picked up on my mood and kept asking if I was okay. I didn't want Daniel to come to the apartment. I didn't want Jacob to get his hopes up or witness whatever confrontation was about to happen. I called my neighbor, Mrs. Chun, who sometimes watches Jacob. She agreed to take him for a few hours. I dropped him off at 6 p.m. and came back to wait. Daniel showed up at 7 p.m. sharp. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked wrecked. His suit was wrinkled, his tie was loose, and he had dark circles under his eyes. His hair, which he always keeps perfectly styled, was messy like he'd been running his hands through it all day. I let him in but didn't offer him a seat. We stood in the living room, a coffee table between us like a barrier. Where's Jacob? He asked immediately. With a neighbor. I didn't want him to hear this conversation. He flinched. Right. Of course. Silence. You wanted to talk, I finally said. So talk. Daniel took a deep breath. I read the divorce papers. Really read them. I've read them maybe 50 times in the past 3 days. Okay. There's a section where you listed grounds for divorce. You wrote constructive abandonment and emotional neglect. I waited. I had to look up what constructive abandonment meant. The legal definition. And when I read it, his voice cracked. It described exactly what I've been doing. being physically present but emotionally absent, providing financial support but not actual partnership, being a husband and father in name only. Daniel, let me finish, please. He sat down heavily on the couch, uninvited. That board meeting, the one I missed Jacob's birthday for.
Do you want to know what it was about?
Does it matter? It was about our Q4 projections. Melissa scheduled it because one of the investors wanted to discuss the numbers before end of month. It could have been an email. It could have been rescheduled. It wasn't life or death. But I went anyway because I always go anyway. He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. I missed my son's 5th birthday for a meeting about numbers that didn't matter. And the worst part? It didn't even occur to me to say no. Melissa told me about the meeting, I said fine, and I completely forgot what day it was. I forgot my own son's birthday until you texted me at 3 p.m. That doesn't make it better. I know it doesn't. But I need you to understand how deep I've been in this fog. I've been living my life on autopilot, just going through the motions of what I think a CEO should be. And somewhere along the way, I forgot to be a human being. I forgot to be a father. I forgot to be a husband. You had 6 years to figure that out. You're right. And I wasted all of them. He pulled something out of his pocket, a small notebook. After you gave me the divorce papers, I went home and I couldn't sleep. So I started writing. I wrote down every birthday I missed, every school event I didn't attend, every time Jacob asked me to play and I said I was too busy, every time you needed me and I chose work instead. He opened the notebook. The pages were filled with his handwriting. 43. That's how many times I have recorded here. 43 specific moments where I chose wrong. And that's just what I can remember. The real number is probably hundreds. I felt tears burning my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Why are you telling me this? Because yesterday morning I called my father, the former CEO. I told him everything about you, about Jacob, about the secret marriage. I told him I've been hiding my family for 6 years because I was afraid of what the board would think. What did he say? He asked me if I was an idiot. Daniel laughed bitterly. He said, "You've been CEO for 3 years. You think the board can fire you at this point? You think they care more about your marital status than your performance? You've been hiding behind an excuse that stopped being relevant years ago." He's right. I know. I called an emergency board meeting this morning. I told them everything. I showed them a picture of you and Jacob. I said I've been married for 6 years and have a 5-year-old son, and if they have a problem with that, they can find a new CEO. I stared at him. You didn't. I did. You want to know what they said? Most of them congratulated me. One board member said, "It's about time you got some balance in your life." Another one asked why the hell I'd been keeping it secret. The general consensus was that nobody cared and that I'd created a problem that never existed. So, you came here to tell me what? That you fixed everything and I should come back?
No.
He stood up. I came to tell you that you're absolutely right to leave. You should leave. You should take Jacob and start over and find someone who doesn't need 6 years and divorce papers to get his head out of his ass.
I wasn't expecting that.
But, he continued, I also came to tell you that I'm not going to just let you go without fighting. Not for you. I know I don't deserve another chance. But for Jacob. He deserves a father who shows up, who's present, who doesn't make him feel like a secret. It's too late for that.
Maybe. Probably.
But I'm going to try anyway. He pulled out his phone and showed me his calendar. It was completely empty except for one recurring event. Jacob, every day, 5 to 8 p.m. I cleared my evenings. All of them. Melissa knows that from 5 p.m. onward, I'm unavailable unless someone is literally dying. I told the board I'm implementing strict work-life boundaries. I'm going to therapy. I had my first session yesterday with a family therapist who specializes in parental absence. He pulled out more papers from his jacket. These are my counterproposals to the divorce agreement. I'm agreeing to everything you asked for plus more. I want joint custody, but I want you to have primary physical custody until I can prove I'm reliable. I'm setting up a trust for Jacob with half my personal assets. I'm proposing a visitation schedule that starts small, one evening a week, and only increases if I consistently show up. You have full authority to revoke visits if I flake even once. I took the papers with trembling hands. And this, he pulled out one more document, is a public statement I'm releasing tomorrow. It announces my marriage to you, introduces Jacob, and apologizes for keeping my family private for personal reasons I now recognize were wrong. I read the statement. It was straightforward, honest, and actually took accountability without making excuses. I'm also selling the penthouse, he said. I'm buying a house. A real family house with a yard and room for Jacob to play. It's 15 minutes from here. Whether or not you divorce me, whether or not you move to Portland, Jacob will have a home with me that he can visit anytime. A home where he doesn't have to hide. I didn't know what to say. This was everything I'd wanted for 6 years, showing up 3 days after I said I was leaving. Why now? I finally asked. Why does it take losing us to make you care? Because I'm an idiot who didn't understand what he had until it was gone. Because I'm a coward who hid behind excuses for 6 years. Because I'm a terrible father who didn't realize the damage I was doing until I saw it spelled out in legal documents. He looked directly at me. There's no good answer to your question. The truth is I should have done all of this 6 years ago. I didn't. I failed you, and I failed Jacob, and I'll carry that guilt for the rest of my life. This doesn't fix anything. I know. This doesn't fix 6 years of neglect. It doesn't undo the birthdays I missed or the times Jacob needed me, and I wasn't there. It doesn't erase the pain I've caused you. But it's a start. It's me finally being the person I should have been all along. We stood there in silence. The apartment felt too small. I'm still moving to Portland, I said. I need a fresh start. Jacob needs a fresh start. I understand. Can I see him before you go? Can I tell him goodbye properly? He's not going to understand. He's 5. I know, but I need to try. And I need to tell him that I'm sorry. That Daddy made mistakes. That he can call me Dad if he wants to, anywhere, anytime, in front of anyone. That broke something in me. The tears finally came. You don't get to do this, I sobbed. You don't get to show up now with the perfect words and grand gestures and expect everything to be okay. I know. You broke our son's heart. Over and over again. You made him feel like he wasn't important enough. I know.
He stopped asking about you.
Do you understand that? He's 5 years old, and he's already learned not to expect anything from his father. I know. Daniel was crying too now. I know, and I'm sorry, and I know sorry isn't enough. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving to him that he matters. That he's important. That he's my priority.
How?
You're here, and we're moving to Portland. Then I'll visit Portland. Every other weekend I'll be there. I'll video call him every single day at a set time, so he can count on it. I'll fly you both back here for holidays if you want. Whatever it takes. I'll make it work. Words are cheap. You're right. So let me prove it with actions. Don't cancel the move. Don't change your plans. But give me a chance to show Jacob, just Jacob, not even you, that I can be consistent. That I can show up. Let me try to be the father he deserves, even if it's too late for me to be the husband you deserved. I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell him it was too late, that he'd had his chance, that we were done.
But this wasn't about me.
This was about Jacob. One chance. I finally said. You get one chance. You commit to a schedule and you stick to it. You don't cancel unless you're literally in the hospital. You don't make promises you can't keep. And the second you flake, the second you miss a call or a visit without a legitimate emergency, you're done. I'll file for full custody and you won't see him again.
Deal.
And you don't get me back. Even if you do everything right with Jacob, we're done. I can't go through this again. I can't keep hoping you'll change. He nodded, his face crumpling. I understand. Okay. You can see Jacob tomorrow. We'll tell him together that we're divorcing, that Mommy and Jacob are moving, but that Daddy is going to visit and call regularly. We'll set up a schedule. And then we'll see if you can actually follow through. Daniel left 20 minutes later. Before he walked out, he turned back. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I do love you. I've always loved you. I just love the idea of who I was supposed to be more. And that was my biggest failure. After he left, I picked up Jacob from Mrs. Chen's. He was half asleep, clutching his favorite stuffed dinosaur. Was Daddy here? He asked drowsily. Yes, baby. He was here. Did he bring me a present?
No.
But he wants to see you tomorrow. He wants to talk to you about something important. Okay. He yawned. Mommy, in Portland, can I have a dinosaur bedroom? You can have whatever kind of bedroom you want. And can I make new friends? So many new friends.
Good.
I think I'm ready for a new start. Out of the mouths of babes, right? So that's where we are now. I'm still leaving in 10 days. The divorce is still happening. But Daniel is going to have a chance to be Jacob's father, the real kind, not the secret kind. Will he follow through? I honestly don't know. But for Jacob's sake, I hope he does.